Joining me now, someone's been documenting all of this, along with what Doge has been doing, is Charlie Kirk, founder of the great Turning Point USA. Charlie, now, to enshrine these Doge cuts, which are going to continue to be, racked up, they're going to continue their list building, Congress needs to get involved here. So what's your message to the GOP that's always reluctant to really go after the spending?
They have to go after all the waste that Elon has rightfully identified. The president has a mandate given to him by the American people that they want to shrink the size of government and that we want to make government more efficient so that we can spend money on necessary things like securing the border and taking care of our veterans. Also, very important, though, that if we are serious about making sure that Doge is going to be successful, Senate Republicans need to adopt a new litmus test for all new Supreme Court nominees and judges. In a post-Dobbs world, the litmus test must be, do you think that a judge far disconnected from D.C., a circuit court judge, can have a nationwide sweeping national injunction and get in the way of the executive branch? This needs to be a new litmus test because, as you mentioned, that is the buried lead of this disappointing, albeit very narrow, Supreme Court decision, is that Alito was writing in his scathing dissent, are we going to give this much power where the judges are basically able to usurp the Article II authority of the executive branch? So I hope that Congress steps up on the cuts and Senate Republicans realize there's a disturbing trend to run out the clock on this administration, to have these judges to be able to have a pocket veto against President Trump's mandate given to him by the American people.
Yeah, so you have these district court judges, usually, Charlie, selected in areas where they know there's a disproportionate number of Democrat appointees. So they'll go to the First Circuit, go to Boston or Connecticut or D.C. or out in the Pacific Northwest, and they'll find a friendly judge, and then that judge says, okay, the president has no authority. I mean, that's just ludicrous. So the administration has to go directly to the Supreme Court on that question, and there's a process for doing that. But the DOJ and the Solicitor General's office has to push against these nationwide injunctions, because I think that's really going to be the only weapon in the first 2 years that the Democrats can deploy here.
It's the only weapon, and it is the strategy of trying to run out the clock. They're trying to flood the zone with so many nationwide injunctions that the Supreme Court cannot practically actually be able to rule on all of these cases. If there's 100 or 200 sweeping nationwide injunctions, maybe half of them will end up being heard by the U.S. Supreme Court. This is a run-out-the-clock strategy that they tried during the first Trump administration. And so Senate Republicans, they need to get very wise about the new litmus test when they ask these new judges that come up for hearing, do you believe that this is okay? Clarence Thomas in 2018 wrote brilliantly. He said the idea of a nationwide sweeping injunction did not exist for the first 150 years of this republic. And the idea that a district court judge can repeatedly be able to undermine and basically that the president does not have the authority to execute the laws, this is a constitutional crisis, to use a term that our friends on the left always use. If we are not serious about getting this straight, it undermines the president's daily constitutional authority.
Well, given this ruling, again, this is a temporary ruling. There was no decision published. But given this, what we saw today, I'm not convinced they'll rule the right way on the nationwide injunctions, but perhaps they will. I mean, John Roberts usually is a Article II guy, so we'll see how that all plays out. Charlie, as always, great to see you tonight.